this reminds me of a kind of, I would say competition where, you are subjected to statement like your time starts now. So let me just kind of start. Okay, let's get started. And I guess let's get started with something which is very, very obvious. Things have really fundamentally changed, and just to kind of talk about global challenge. Global challenge seems to be very, very light or a polite phrase considering what's happening in the market for last year or so. So if you really look at some of the news items which appeared in 2008 or some of the kind of stuff which really happened in 2008, prior to that, in fact, if you really remember, when we exited 2007, that's when the Bombay Stock Exchange was at around 21,000, and guys like Rakesh Jhunjhunwala and everybody said that they're going to touch 35,000. Right? What happened when we exited 2008? Right? The market touched all-time low. It was at around 8,000 or 9,000. And when we actually went into 2009, everybody felt that it's going to be a bad year for industry across the segments and a whole lot of stuff. At this point in time, we've been talking to a number of industry segments, and everybody seems that there is some kind of hope and situation is not as bad as what we thought. The point which I'm trying to say is that things or the market pace is changing at much faster rate than we can possibly imagine. Just look at oil. I guess Praveen in yesterday's presentation touched upon. Last year it hit $145 per barrel, and it actually went to as low as $34 per barrel in span of 6 months. And that's a commodity, that's the stuff which has been driving or has been the backbone of a number of industry. How do you kind of survive in this kind of environment where the normal has changed? If you really look at what's the new normal for us, we've been used to double-digit growth for a number of years, but now if you really look at anything which is a positive growth, we are kind of feeling that we are absolutely lucky. Things like stress tests, things like toxic assets, things like war on waste, identification of cost culprits has become a kind of new normal in today's environment. How do you if that's the kind of scenario, what are the kind of key attributes which an organization wants? And this was a very interesting piece which actually was penned by Drucker, and he said that executive leadership must focus concurrently on 3 time horizons. The first is, he said that they must make the present business effective, they must identify and realize the potential of business, and third and the most important thing is they must make the present business into different business for different future. What does this translate into? 3 key things: innovate, optimize, and transform. There is never ever a seminar which I have attended where there is no mention of innovate or innovation. What does innovation mean? Simply doing things which we haven't done before, or looking at business in much different perspective. The way in which the best way to kind of look at innovation is really ask yourself 2 questions. One is what else, and second is how else. The first one, what else? And it's not restricted to the top management or any particular division. Ask what else should we be doing in this environment, and why only this environment? I guess that's something which should be practiced daily, which means that what else should I or every individual in my organization should be doing which I am not doing today, which can add significant amount of business value. Those are the kind of new initiatives which you haven't tried, which you need to try for adding value to the business. Second is how else. Innovation does not mean that launching new products and services. Innovation also equally applies to current set of things or activities which you are doing, but you are not doing in a way in which they are adding significant amount of value. So how else and what else? 2 simple stuff, but it's got a profound impact. Second is optimize. Doing more and more things with less and less resources available. And I guess IT department is something which can vouch for that, right? We've got more and more pressures, but the IT budgets does not kind of increase proportionately. How do you optimize the things which you are doing in your organization? And the third and the fundamental stuff which often gets ignored is transformation, right? Do you have right set of people? Do you have right set of culture? Do you have right set of leadership which can allow you to take those kind of initiatives, which really makes it easy for that initiative to deliver more results, or deliver the results which you are expecting? How do you do that? If you really look at the first piece, innovation, one of the things which really fuels innovation in your organization is information, and Mr. Ramani spoke about huge amount of information lying in an organization, lying external to an organization. How do you leverage that? However, managing information today itself has become a great challenge. If you look at some of the statistics, in 2006, 161 exabytes were captured and replicated. 1 exabyte is 10 raised to power of 19. So just kind of look at it. In 2007, 281 exabytes captured. If you really look at the statistics, in 2011, right, that amount of information which is existing inside your organization or probably outside is going to multiply 9 times. Do you have the right infrastructure in your organization to leverage this exponential growth of information which is happening, or kind of how are you placed there? Gartner did an interesting kind of survey, right? Gartner does a lot of such kind of surveys, and if you really look at the kind of result, it's very pessimistic, right? It says that by 2012, which is 3 years from now, 35% of top 5,000 global companies, right, will fail to make insightful decisions about significant changes in their business markets due to underinvestment in information infrastructure and business user tools. Where are we placed right now? I guess it's a question which we need to be kind of asking. So if you really look at how does an organization embark on its journey of business intelligence or business analytics, there's a lot of confusion around business intelligence, and then you have an additional complexity from vendors like us who says that analytics is something which is the heart. Now, how does an organization go about having a right approach? What you are seeing here right now is a framework. It's not a framework which we have designed. It's a framework which we are communicating based on our interaction with number of customers across geographies, across various industries. And the thing which I really want to harp upon is it's a framework, it's not a platform. The difference between a framework and a platform means is framework is something which you can actually consume in a very modular way. Platform is something which is very, very monolithic, takes huge amount of time to kind of implement, and by the time you actually implement, more often than not, the realities, the market realities or assumptions which you have made while implementing have kind of shifted, right? So what are the kind of integral parts of, I would say, business analytics framework? The first and the foremost piece is data integration. There are a lot of BI projects which have failed, right? And the reason why BI projects fail is because more often than not, data integration is kind of an ignored piece. Most of the organizations out here today, and the ones who are not here today, have invested in multiple technologies over a period of time, right? Those technologies right now are working in an isolation. Now, if you have those kind of fragmented IT infrastructure, how would you generate an enterprise intelligence in your organization? Very, very critical. So it's absolutely important for you to kind of start with data integration as the first piece. Once you have data integration, I guess, or a couple of challenges which you will encounter, and one of the foremost challenges is this whole area of data quality. Let's do some, show of hands at an expense of time. How many of you present out here are absolutely convinced that the data which you hold in your organization is absolutely complete, accurate, consistent, and without any discrepancies? Not many, none. Asset or information or customer information which we are holding, we always say that's the most valuable asset which we have in your organization. Just do an introspection in terms of what's the state of that asset in your organization, right? It's very, very important to kind of look at it. The second piece is analytics, right? A lot of stuff spoken about analytics, everybody's buying it, everybody's selling it. But what does analytics mean? Let's look at some of those questions which business get often asked from various stakeholders. Things like what happened, where exactly is the problem, what if this trends continue, so on and so forth. Those are 8 questions. Let's segment those between 4. What happened, where exactly is the problem, so on and so forth. If you really look at, there is one kind of thing which is common to those 4 questions, and that is it provides you information about event which is already happened. It provides you something what we call as hindsight or at best insight. That's not a good place to be in. What actually people want, right? In fact, somebody said that out. How do you kind of create an ability in your organization to tell you something which you don't know? And those are the kind of areas where you take, more of a proactive decision making. Okay, to find answers like what if this trend continues? What's the best that can happen? So on and so forth. Now, as I said, actually it's an built-up chart, but in the interest of time, I said let me eliminate. If you really look at the way in which analytics needs to be deployed or seen, okay, it has to be seen from, I would say, an area from standard reports, which is what a lot of people kind of